Her voice cut through the low hum of the airplane, loud enough for everyone in row 8 to hear. Well, look who we have here. The king of failures himself, stuck in coach with the rest of the peasants. Her laughter carried the same smugness she'd worn the day she slid divorce papers across the table. In her hand, she held a sleek Mont Blanc pen, probably a gift from her new, deep-pocketed husband. The massive diamond on her finger caught the cabin's LED lighting just right, glittering with the same chill reflected in her perfectly painted eyes. Layers of expensive makeup masked any warmth she might have once had. I looked at her briefly, then at the boarding pass in my hand. 8A, window seat. Hers, 8B. Fate, with its twisted sense of humor, had outdone itself. I gave a slight nod, remaining silent, though the corner of my mouth twitched with the beginning of a smile. She had no idea this wasn't just a casual flight to Los Angeles. I wasn't some down-on-his-luck passenger she'd stumbled upon by chance. I was the reason for this flight. This was the culmination of a 2-year journey. 2 years ago, I was just another guy with a chaotic garage, a handful of drones, and a dream no one bothered to believe in, especially not her. If you had a real degree, maybe someone would actually listen, she'd snapped once after yet another pitch meeting ended in blank stares. We'd met in college. She was ambition in heels, chasing prestige and status. I was all raw energy, chasing problems nobody else noticed. She used to say she admired that fire in me. Until she didn't. Once the cash dried up, so did her belief. The truth came to me quietly, one gray Thursday while she was in the shower. Her phone buzzed. One message. Gregory, bottle with popping cork. So predictable it almost felt cliché. I never confronted her. Instead, I let the lie unfold. Quiet dinners, long work calls at odd hours, that unfamiliar perfume that clung to her late at night. Eventually, she sat across from me like a stranger, her tone flat and distant, as if she were ordering her coffee. We're just headed in different directions, she'd said. She left with the house, the car, and a new identity. Mrs. Gregory Toland, wife to a heavyweight hedge fund player. Me. I got labeled the failure king. Her rich friends loved the nickname. It even trended online for a brief, humiliating stint. But being underestimated has its perks. It gives you the space to build in silence. I started from scratch. No social media hype. No announcements. Just long nights, stale coffee, and lines of code. My drone software, designed for automated load distribution and emergency air navigation, finally caught the right attention. First, DARPA noticed. Then FEMA followed. By the time I signed on with a private aerospace firm, I had patents, a lean team, and government contracts with enough weight to feel like armor. Still, I wasn't done. I kept tabs on her. Not because I missed her, but because I was calculating. She paraded Gregory like a trophy. Their life was a carousel of private jets, luxury vacations, and high society galas, all paid for by his firm's overflowing coffers. That's how I found out about Flight 79. I didn't engineer the encounter, not exactly, but I knew she'd be on this flight. Gregory's company had a major summit in LA. I made my reservation weeks in advance, using a shell company and dressing down, baseball cap, plain clothes, just enough to look like the man she believed I still was. Still fiddling with those little toy drones? She sneered as the plane began its slow taxi, her grin razor-sharp. I gave a casual shrug, soaking in the ride. She chuckled and turned away, sipping her mimosa with a smug grin, clearly dismissing me without a second thought. About 30 minutes into the flight, the pilot's voice crackled over the speaker system. Faint, trembling, and then nothing. Silence. Gasps filled the cabin, a child began to cry, and a flight attendant bolted toward the cockpit. A few moments later she returned, voice high-pitched and trembling. If anyone on board can fly this plane, we need help. The captain's down. My ex turned to look at me, that mocking glint still in her eyes, but now it was laced with panic. "What are you gonna do?" "Save the day, failure king." I rose without a word. Her smirk faded the moment I stepped into the aisle. Murmurs spread as I walked past rows of stunned passengers and entered the cockpit. Inside, the captain was unconscious, slumped to one side. The co-pilot was still at the controls, hands shaking, trying to hold things steady. I inhaled slowly, slid into the empty seat, and switched on my system. "Activate Echo Protocol 1. Just those words were enough. My voice was the key, unlocking the very technology I'd spent years building. A fallback system I'd once pitched to investors who laughed it off like a sci-fi fantasy. A drone-linked interface designed to assist and autonomously guide aircraft in emergencies, right down to a flawless landing. No one wanted it then. Until now. I had built it. I had tested it. And now I was using it, the final line of defense. With satellite precision and algorithmic accuracy, my code took control. The descent was seamless. Not a bump, not a sway. A smoother landing than any seasoned pilot could have delivered. 20 minutes later, the cabin erupted. Applause, cheers, voices shouting in relief. The moment we stepped out, reporters were already descending. Crew members gripped my hand, and someone yelled, "We have a hero!" She stood off to the side, frozen, eyes wide, expression unreadable. By sunrise, the media had its headline, "Tech Visionary Saves Flight After Pilot Collapse." But that was only the beginning. The real storm came later. Gregory's empire began unraveling, exposed in an SEC investigation triggered by drone footage I had captured half a year earlier. Footage I released just hours after the emergency landing. The video revealed everything: shady boardroom deals, unethical trades during their last major summit. It was my footage, taken in silence, buried until the perfect moment. And when it hit the press, her name wasn't spared. "Tolan's wife tied to insider trading ring," the headlines read. Voicemails she left Gregory, emotional, reckless, and damning, gave prosecutors all the evidence they needed. By midday, their accounts were locked. By nightfall, my company's value had skyrocketed. 2 days later, I was back at the airport, waiting at the gate for my flight home. She showed up again. No designer clothes this time. No wedding ring. Not even a trace of makeup. Just raw, pale silence in her voice. "You planned all of this," she said, her tone dry and cracking. I met her gaze, calm, clear, steady. "No," I replied. "You lit the spark. I just made sure it burned." She didn't follow me onto the plane. I took my seat by the window, watching as the horizon stretched open, limitless and blue, waiting.